thanks for listening. This is Brian Hurley from Business Performance Improvement. The podcast Lean Six Sigma Bursts are short lessons, comments, Q&A, and insights. If you have a question, send your question through the Anchor app, and we might feature you on a future episode. Or contact me at biz-pi.com. For today's episode, I wanted to talk about one of the concepts I go through in my green belt training. It's the idea of Y is a function of X. This is the heart of the Six Sigma thought process. Y is your output. It's something you're measuring that you're trying to improve on. X is the one or more of the inputs that might be affecting the Y or the output. What we're trying to do is figure out what X's actually affects the Y. We have ideas and thoughts around that, but until we get real data and study the process, we don't really know for sure. We also might know which ones are important, but we don't know the order of importance or which ones are most important and second and third in the list. So that's the goal for most Six Sigma type projects, is to be able to figure out what affects the Y. And then we have to figure out what we're going to do to improve that. Typically, it means we're going to control the X in some way more than what we're doing today, or we're going to adjust the X factor somehow. Check the show notes for a picture that I'll include. And if you've heard this podcast before, you know I like to talk about process improvement related to your own personal life. So I use the examples of inputs that go into our own lives, into our own processes that we have to deal with, basically how we live our lives. So inputs could be the food and the snacks that you eat and consume along with drinks. Those go into your body and they get processed. Also the air and the water that we consume, if that is a problem or an issue, that could be affecting how your life turns out. It could be stress that you're receiving in from external factors or stress you're creating yourself. Your friends and your family are inputs into your own internal process. But you also have neighbors and colleagues that may be contributing, people that you don't necessarily pick, but they are part of your life. You also have medications that you might have to take. You also have a family history and genetics that come with you when you're born. And you have weather issues going on that might be affecting. And these aren't all the inputs. These are the main inputs that affect most people. And then the process is what happens to those inputs? How do we deal with those inputs? What are the things that we do with things that come into that process? So we exercise, and that's to process some of the food and calories that we receive in, and to change the appearance of our body. We get dressed in the morning, and that's to protect us against weather, but also to give us confidence and things like that. We sleep to allow our bodies to recover, to be well rested so that we can perform well at work and in our personal lives and in our relationships. We eat food. So we take those inputs and we process them, but there's lots of ways you can eat. The speed, the technique, all that goes into it. And that could include the cooking of the food. Stress management. How do we take those stressors and deal with them? Sometimes good ways, sometimes unhealthy ways. Our work is a process we have to go through. How do we prepare for work? How do we commute to work? How do we get ready for meetings? How do we educate ourselves? We also have activities and hobbies that we like to do that keep us busy, that are enjoyable, might be related to stress management. We also have routines and habits, like how we take care of ourselves and shower and clean up for ourselves. Maybe it's the way we snack in between meals, our hygiene and hand washing habits. And we have our relationships, family, friends, colleagues, and how do we manage those? And what is the way in which we reach out and set up times to get together or respond back to each other? most of the processes that we run on a daily basis and how we operate our whole body system. And so, depending on the inputs, that could affect how well this process runs and ultimately could affect the outputs. Sometimes our processes can manage the inputs a little bit. For example, like if I eat some unhealthy food, I could exercise away a lot of the negatives around that. So if I eat a lot of sugar, if I can exercise a lot of that built up glucose and get rid of it out of my body, it doesn't turn into retained fat. So those are some things that we can do to manage some of the inputs. But if I don't have good processes there, then it can result in negative consequences on the output side or positive outcomes. On the output side, let's look over there. When you go to the doctor, typically they look for things like your weight and your body fat percent, and they'll take your heart rate or your pulse, and you'll check some vitals with your temperature, your cholesterol level, how much glucose you have. Maybe run some diagnostics through blood tests. These are outputs that they can measure to see how healthy you are and if you're managing your inputs and your process successfully. And if you don't like the outcomes, then what you can do is identify which of these outputs do I want to improve. And then we go back to inputs and process. So we look at starting at the process level, we'll work backwards here. What are the processes that can affect my output? Let me pause for a moment to tell you about our sponsor, Creative Safety Supply. Creative Safety Supply is a great resource for free guides, infographics, and continuous improvement tools. I recommend starting with their 5S guide. It includes breakdowns of the 5 pillars, ways to begin implementing 5S, and even organization tips and color charts. From red tags to floor markings, it's all there. Download it for free at creativesafetysupply.com/5S. So let's say I'm trying to improve my fitness and I want to build muscle. I would have to measure the current muscle and set a baseline of where I'm at. And then I could track that over time to see if my process of building muscle is working or not. And that could be my workout routine or exercise routine. And I could go look at that process and say, is this doing what I want it to do? And the data is what tells me more objectively if that's true or not. I might feel like it's working, but what if the data says otherwise? Or it feels like I'm not making progress and the data is saying you are making progress. It's just hard to tell, but your measurements are getting better. We need that tangible, objective feedback loop to really tell us what's going on. We can't just use our gut feel or intuition or our feelings. And if that process isn't working well, we should be looking at our inputs to say, what does it take to make more muscle? Is it the food and snacks and drinks that I'm consuming? Is it the air I'm breathing? Is it the sleep I'm getting? Is it the stressors? Are those affecting it? We could look at things like, do I add creatine to my routine as a supplement to enhance that? Or do I just need to focus on the process and make sure my exercise routine is consistent, it's frequent enough, I'm doing the right routines, I'm continually increasing the amount of weight I'm putting into those exercises, I'm getting proper rest and allowing my muscles to repair themselves. We can do a lot in the processes, but sometimes we have to go back and actually change the inputs as well. So when you carry this mindset and thought process over into your work, then we start with the outputs again and say, my yields aren't getting the success that I want. Our downtime is too high relative to where I want it. Our turnover of employees is too high. Our overtime is too high. We're creating too many defects. We have too many call-outs and absenteeism. Our customers are waiting too long. And now we go back to the process and say, what is the process that allows those results to occur? And do I need to go back to our suppliers and vendors and address it there? Or is there something we can do to better manage the process so we can get the customer what they want? So that's the concept of input, process, output, sometimes called IPO. But I like to think about this in this holistic way for approaching any kind of problem. What is the output? What are the processes that can affect that output? And how well are they performing? Probably not sufficient if I'm getting outputs I don't like. And if I can't fix the process completely, I might need to go back to the inputs and change those inputs. So I might have to look at changing my job, perhaps, if that's causing me difficulties in doing my exercise routine. I might need to change the food I'm consuming. But what can we do first with our process to be able to make the outcomes better? And what things actually matter and what don't? And that's what we can do by collecting data about our process to see what things correlate or correspond to changes in the output. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more idea of what we're trying to do in a Six Sigma project, and maybe gives you some ideas in your own personal life of how you can improve the outputs in your life that you aren't happy with or you'd like to improve on. Hope you like that. Thanks for your time. I'm pleased to announce the launch of Lean Six Sigma Ecosystem. Within this membership group, you can have access to many different templates, videos, case studies, and courses from my over 25 years of process improvement experience. Many templates and courses are available for free, such as 2-Second Lean, Lean at Home, 5S and Visual Controls, Kaizen events, Six Sigma White Belt, applications of Lean in healthcare, and Intro to Root Cause Analysis. You can also have access to templates such as fishbone diagrams, facilitator skills assessment, cross-training matrix, control charts, Lean Six Sigma skills assessment, tips for greening your Lean event, Kanban size calculator, project prioritization matrix, and many more. Under our membership levels, you can have access to courses such as Advanced Root Cause Analysis, SPC, Measurement Systems Analysis, Capability Analysis, and Non-Parametric Statistics. We'll be adding more each month, so check back often or let us know if there's a course you'd like to see. Go to leansixsigmaecosystem.com to learn more.